Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to talk through The Molecule of More by Daniel Lieberman and Michael Long, published in 2018. But before we start, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Okay, let's get started. The book discusses the distinction between the up and down worlds in our brain. The down world refers to things within our reach that we can control and possess. On the other hand, the up world represents things that require effort, planning, and thought to obtain. The brain relies on different chemicals to manage these two worlds. The down world is governed by neurotransmitters that allow us to experience satisfaction and enjoy the present moment. On the other hand, the up world is driven by dopamine, a molecule that motivates us to pursue, control, and possess things beyond our immediate grasp. Dopamine is the source of ambition, addiction, creativity, and the desire for knowledge, love, and power. It is what makes us seek, succeed, discover, and prosper. But it also leads to dissatisfaction and the endless pursuit of more. Dopamine is the ultimate multi-purpose device that pushes us to explore the universe of possibilities beyond the pleasure of just being. Dopamine in our brains relates to love and anticipation. Dopamine is released when we encounter something unexpected, which leads to feelings of excitement and pleasure. As humans, we crave novelty and the unknown, which is why dopamine is triggered by the possibility of something better or different. However, once something becomes familiar, dopamine is no longer released. This explains why love fades over time. As the excitement and novelty wear off, the dopamine rush diminishes. Additionally, Lieberman and Long discuss how our brains distinguish between what we have and what we desire, using different brain circuits and chemicals. They also explore the concept of glamour and how it creates desires that cannot be fulfilled, as they are based on things that exist only in the imagination. Dopamine, the molecule of surprise, is harnessed in the design of slot machines to create excitement and addiction. In relationships, dopamine is responsible for the exhilarating feelings associated with new love. However, the role of dopamine diminishes over time, and companionate love, mediated by other neurotransmitters like serotonin and oxytocin, takes its place. The transition from dopamine-driven passion to companionate love can be difficult, and many relationships end when the initial dopamine firing ends. The book also explores the role of testosterone in sexual attraction, highlighting its influence on sexual desire in both men and women. Overall, the author emphasizes the importance of understanding the chemicals involved in love and relationships to foster long-lasting happiness. Dopamine has its impact on decision-making and happiness. It explains that dopamine, driven by testosterone, fuels desire and arousal during sex, while the release of endorphins brings pleasure and orgasm. However, dopamine can also interfere with the experience of intimacy, as it constantly seeks something better and can cause daydreaming during sexual encounters. In love, dopamine drives the initial passion but eventually fades, leading to the transition to companionate love. Furthermore, Lieberman and Long explore how dopamine influences our wants and desires, often leading to impulsive decisions and conflicting desires. Dopamine plays a crucial role in our brains by creating feelings of desire and excitement when something valuable is encountered. It motivates us to pay attention and prioritize certain things. In the past, dopamine helped our ancestors survive by making them focus on resources like berry bushes. However, when dopamine gets out of control, it can lead to an obsession or addiction. It causes us to focus on things that may not be important or beneficial, like pursuing short-term pleasures at the expense of long-term happiness. Dopamine activates the desire circuit in the brain, which can overshadow our ability to truly enjoy and appreciate the present moment. This disconnect between wanting and liking is seen in situations like buyer's remorse or addiction, where the desired outcome does not bring the expected satisfaction. Ultimately, drugs hijack the desire circuit and can take over a person's life, leading to addiction and harmful consequences. Addictive drugs have a powerful effect on the brain's dopamine system, overwhelming other desires. Addicts choose drugs over everything else because their brain tells them it is the most logical choice. Drugs stimulate dopamine release in ways that natural triggers can't, leading to an insatiable desire for more. Addictive drugs like crack cocaine bypass the brain's normal circuitry, and artificially ignite the dopamine system, causing a craving for drugs in any situation. The rate at which a drug enters the brain determines its addictiveness, with faster and more intense hits of dopamine leading to stronger cravings. In contrast, the authors differentiate between desire and liking, explaining that while dopamine fuels desire, pleasure and liking involve different brain circuits and chemicals. Marijuana stimulates the dopamine circuit in the brain, leading to unusual effects like heightened engagement with mundane activities and getting lost in thoughts. Impulsive behavior, which is often seen in addicts, occurs when the desire for immediate pleasure outweighs the consideration of long-term consequences. Drugs that boost dopamine can exacerbate impulsive behavior. Parkinson's medication, which boosts dopamine, can also lead to risky behaviors such as gambling and hypersexuality. Easy access to sexually explicit material on the internet has led to increased cases of compulsive pornography viewing. Similar to drug addiction, excessive pornography use can result in withdrawal symptoms and decreased interest in real sexual relationships. Video games can also be addictive, with nearly 1 in 10 young gamers experiencing negative consequences due to their playing habits. The large difference in addiction rates between video game users and adults can be attributed to several factors. Firstly, adolescents who are more likely to play video games have brains that are not yet fully developed, particularly in the frontal lobes, which are responsible for good judgment. Without fully functioning frontal lobes, adolescents are more prone to impulsive behavior and unwise decision-making. Secondly, video games are designed to trigger dopamine release, making it difficult for users to stop playing. They offer an immersive experience that allows players to explore constantly changing environments and make progress through levels. The games are filled with rewards and surprises, with developers using data to determine the optimal percentage of rewards to keep players engaged. Additionally, video games provide social and aesthetic pleasures, contributing to their appeal. Overall, the interplay between desired dopamine and controlled dopamine drives users to seek and plan for future rewards in video games. The book discusses the importance of dopamine in promoting tenacity and the role it plays in motivation and perseverance. It explores a case study of a young man who lacks direction and ambition, highlighting the impact of dopamine on his behavior. A laboratory study involving rats, demonstrating how dopamine affects their willingness to work for rewards. It explores the relationship between dopamine and self-efficacy, explaining how dopamine boosts confidence and influences one's belief in their ability to succeed. The writer also touches upon the historical use of dopamine-boosting drugs, such as amphetamines, and the consequences they can have. He also mentions a study on nonverbal behavior and dominance, showcasing the subtle ways in which confidence can influence others. Lieberman and Long's book discusses the relationship between dominance and submission and how it affects human behavior. It is found that participants who take a complementary posture, i.e. dominance triggers submission and vice versa, tend to like the person they interact with more and feel more comfortable with them compared to those who mirror the other person's posture. Furthermore, the researchers found that participants were unaware of how their posture was being influenced by the other person in the room, suggesting that this behavior occurs unconsciously. Self-efficacy in sports demonstrates how belief and confidence can lead to come-from-behind victories. Additionally, they touches on the effects of dopamine on dominance and submission behavior, both in humans and non-human primates. There's potential negative consequences of having an imbalance between controlled dopamine, future-focused, and H&N neurotransmitters, present-focused. Individuals with weak controlled dopamine circuits often struggle with impulsivity and difficulty staying focused, resulting in attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. ADHD is most commonly seen in children because the frontal lobes, where controlled dopamine acts, fully develop last. The most common treatments for ADHD include stimulant drugs like Ritalin and amphetamine, which boost dopamine in the brain. Additionally, individuals with ADHD are at a higher risk of addiction. The connection between ADHD and obesity is explored, as well as the relationship between dopamine and cheating. It mentions that winning competitions stimulates dopamine, which leaves individuals wanting more, resulting in addictive behavior. Dr. Jones is faced with a difficult decision when a patient threatens to kill someone. Although the patient does not show signs of psychosis, he demands to be admitted to the hospital or else he will carry out his plan. Dr. Jones admits him. Fearing for the safety of the victim he refuses to name, but feeling guilty for potentially endangering other patients. Authors explores the concept of violence, distinguishing between planned, purpose-driven violence and spontaneous, passionate violence. It explains that violence can be driven by dopamine and emphasizes the importance of suppressing loving and calculated decisions. Some people have more active dopaminergic circuits than others, influencing their personalities and decision-making. They also discuss the interplay between dopamine and H&N, fight or flight response chemicals in high-pressure situations, emphasizing the role of dopamine in making rational plans and decisions. They explore the concept of making difficult decisions that involve sacrificing one life to save many. The scenario of diverting a train to save 5 people at the expense of one is presented, and people's decisions in such situations seem to be influenced by 2 separate minds: a rational mind that seeks to maximize the number of lives saved, and an empathic mind that is unable to directly kill someone. The role of dopamine circuits in decision-making is also discussed, highlighting the opposing forces of dopamine control circuits and desire circuits. The limitations of willpower in resisting harmful urges are explored, and the potential for strengthening willpower through exercises is examined. Additionally, the passage delves into addiction and various psychotherapies that aim to counteract the destructive impulses of the desire dopamine circuit, such as motivational enhancement therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. The book discusses the challenges and treatment options for addiction, particularly alcohol addiction, and the role of dopamine in addiction. It mentions strategies such as eliminating triggers and seeking social support to maintain sobriety. Lieberman and Long also highlight the difficulty in treating addiction compared to other psychiatric illnesses because patients may not want to get better. Addiction can change DNA and interfere with the dopamine control circuits in the brain, leading to cravings and relapse. However, the chapter also mentions the effectiveness of Alcoholics Anonymous as a long-term support system for addiction recovery. It concludes by discussing the connection between creativity, mental illness, and dopamine, using a case study of schizophrenia to illustrate the impact of hallucinations and delusions. Salience is related to dopamine. Salience refers to the degree to which things are important or prominent. The brain's dopamine circuit becomes activated when something is deemed salient, leading to a sense of excitement and motivation. However, if the salience circuit malfunctions, individuals may start attaching importance to things that are not truly significant, leading to delusions and psychosis. People with schizophrenia, who often experience this malfunction, take antipsychotic medications to block dopamine receptors and reduce the symptoms of delusions and hallucinations. Low latent inhibition, or the inability to ignore unimportant stimuli, is observed in both schizophrenia and in creativity. Models, which are imaginary representations of the world that help individuals understand and manipulate their environment. Models allow us to simplify and understand the world, as well as make predictions about unfamiliar situations. They are particularly useful in decision-making, as they allow us to imagine different scenarios and choose the best one. However, our models can sometimes be faulty, leading to poor predictions and choices. Faulty models can be formed due to a lack of information, difficulty with abstract thinking, or incorrect assumptions. These faulty assumptions can even result in psychiatric illnesses such as anxiety and depression. Psychotherapy can help address these faulty assumptions and change them through techniques like insight-oriented therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. As we gain more experience, we develop better models and improve our decision-making. However, models can also limit our thinking, preventing us from seeing new possibilities. Creativity involves breaking apart existing models and thinking outside the box. Studies have shown that the brain's creative thinking areas are activated when individuals imagine objects that don't exist in reality. Attempts to enhance creativity through brain stimulation techniques like transcranial direct current stimulation, TDCS, and dopaminergic drugs have shown promise. Dreams also play a role in creativity, as they allow our minds to arrange information in unconventional ways. Dreams are often characterized by themes of flying, falling, and pursuing desired goals. They are detached from the real world and driven by primitive desires. Dreams, similar to psychosis, involve the release of dopamine and the generation of bizarre connections that defy reality. Dreams have been found to be similar to psychosis through studies comparing the dreams and waking fantasies of individuals with schizophrenia to those of healthy individuals. Dreams have also been found to enhance creativity, as they allow for the exploration of new ideas and connections. Dreams can be used as problem-solving tools, as they often provide vivid imagery and unique perspectives. Artists and scientists alike often find inspiration in dreams. However, the heightened dopamine levels in geniuses can lead to difficulties in social interactions. Lieberman and Long's book discusses the impact of elevated levels of dopamine on the personality and behavior of geniuses. Highly dopaminergic individuals, such as Einstein and Newton, often struggle with human relationships and exhibit traits that may appear slightly autistic. They are more focused on maximizing future resources rather than appreciating the present, leading to a constant desire for more and a lack of satisfaction. These creative geniuses may also be at a higher risk for mental illness, with many famous artists, scientists, and business leaders having been diagnosed with conditions such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. The power of dopamine to enhance creativity and imagination comes at a cost, as it can lead to paranoia, delusions, and difficulties in forming human connections. However, these special individuals play a vital role in advancing society, sacrificing their own happiness for the sake of bringing new ideas and innovations into the world. The authors discuss the relationship between dopamine levels, intelligence, and political ideology. They suggest that individuals with higher levels of dopamine tend to be more liberal, while those with lower levels are more conservative. This connection is seen in certain groups, such as individuals in Silicon Valley and the entertainment industry, who tend to have higher dopamine levels and lean towards liberal views. Lieberman and Long's book also mentions studies that show a correlation between higher intelligence and liberalism, as well as the role of emotional intelligence in decision-making. Additionally, they touche on the genetic factors that may contribute to political ideology, such as the presence of certain dopamine receptor genes. They also explore the disparities between liberals and conservatives in terms of charitable giving and focus on empathy and altruism. The writers discuss the dopaminergic approach and the H&N hedonistic and nurturing approach in regards to helping the poor. The dopaminergic approach emphasizes maximizing resources that are made available through government programs, while the H&N approach emphasizes personal connections and individualized assistance through charities. They highlight the emotional benefits for both the receiver and the giver in charitable giving, and the potential positive impact of altruism on one's well-being and longevity. It also explores the differences in sexual behavior and satisfaction between conservatives, H&N, and liberals, dopaminergic, with conservatives being happier overall. The authors suggest that political ideologies may be influenced by neurochemical differences in individuals' dopamine and H&N neurotransmitter levels. Loss aversion is a powerful psychological phenomenon where the pain of losing something is stronger than the pleasure of gaining something. The amygdala, a part of the brain that processes fear and negative emotions, plays a significant role in driving loss aversion. Research has shown that the amygdala fires up when a person experiences loss, intensifying feelings of distress. This explains why people are more reluctant to give up something they already have, even if the potential gain outweighs the loss. Loss aversion differs among groups, with dopaminergic liberals more likely to respond to messages offering benefits, and H&N conservatives responding to messages offering security. Threats also play a role in shaping political ideologies, with conservatives more focused on threat and small threats nudging people to the right. Drugs, like serotonin-boosting medication, can influence moral judgment and behavior, making individuals more inclined to protect others from harm. The individual-group contrast in immigration debates also showcases the different approaches of liberals and conservatives, with liberals focusing on the global community and conservatives prioritizing individual rights and cultural preservation. Conservatives are more likely to support efforts to keep immigrants out, but are still motivated to help those already present. On the other hand, liberals may advocate for open border policies, but may adopt stricter housing regulations to limit in-migration. Introducing threats into the environment can make individuals more conservative, while the absence of threats can make them more liberal. Dr. Napier conducted a study where conservatives were asked to imagine having superpowers that made them invulnerable. This exercise resulted in conservatives becoming more liberal. This suggests that reducing feelings of vulnerability allows dopamine to play a larger role in determining ideology. Another study found that individuals who think more concretely tend to be more hostile towards groups that are different from them. However, when these individuals were prompted to think abstractly, their attitudes towards these groups became more positive. Furthermore, fictional characters in TV shows have been influential in shaping viewers' attitudes towards groups like the LGBT community. It is suggested that conservatives can be made to think more like liberals by activating their empathy circuits. Government is inherently dopaminergic, with liberals often more enthusiastic about it than conservatives. Dopamine drives the need for change in politics, and politicians are constantly driven to do something. However, the fundamental obstacle to achieving harmony is the differing brains of liberals and conservatives, which leads to demonization and a lack of understanding. Ultimately, liberals want to help people become better, conservatives want to let people be happy, and politicians want power. Modern humans evolved in Africa and then began spreading to other parts of the world, a migration that was crucial for their survival. Genetic evidence shows that there was a near-extinction event early in human history, with the population shrinking to less than 20,000. Migration was important because when a species is concentrated in a small area, there are many ways for the entire population to be wiped out. Dispersing throughout different regions is like an insurance policy. Research on mice has shown that drugs that boost dopamine increase exploratory behavior, leading scientists to believe that dopamine may have played a role in the migration of early humans out of Africa. Dopaminergic genes, which are associated with novelty seeking, were found to be more common among populations that migrated farther away from their evolutionary origins. The 7R allele of the DRD4 gene, which is related to risk-taking and exploration, was more prevalent in indigenous South Americans who migrated the longest distance. These dopaminergic genes provided a survival advantage in unfamiliar environments by promoting novelty-seeking behavior, faster learning, and lower reactivity to stressors. While migration in prehistoric times favored dopaminergic genes, today immigration is a personal decision rather than a tribal one. Immigrant populations do not show a higher prevalence of the 7R allele. Another condition associated with excessive dopamine activity is bipolar disorder, which is characterized by episodes of depression and mania. Bipolar disorder is more common among creative individuals, and those with higher IQ. Cocaine blocks the dopamine transporter, leading to increased dopamine interaction with its receptors and resulting in heightened energy, self-esteem, and euphoria, similar to mania. The prevalence of bipolar disorder in the United States, a country populated by immigrants, suggests a possible link between bipolar genes and the decision to emigrate. Bipolar disorder exists on a spectrum, with more severe forms characterized by severe mania and depression, while milder forms exhibit elevated moods. Genetic inheritance interacts with the environment to manifest bipolar disorder or milder bipolar characteristics. The United States, with a high concentration of risk genes, exhibits a higher rate of bipolar disorder compared to Japan, a country with low immigration. Furthermore, the United States has achieved significant dopaminergic accomplishments through the contributions of immigrants, such as Nobel Prizes in entrepreneurship. The dopaminergic approach to life, seeking more and embracing change, has become ingrained in modern culture. Dopamine is closely linked to our understanding of our deepest selves and is associated with qualities such as free will, comprehension, pleasure, creativity, and transcendence. While only a small percentage of the brain is made up of dopamine-producing cells, Dopamine is involved in various functions, including decision-making and movement. The coordination required for everyday actions, such as scratching your head, involves millions of muscle fibers controlled by the brain. We often define ourselves by unconscious, non-dopamine-driven actions that are unique to each person. Neglecting these aspects of ourselves, along with emotions, empathy, and relationships, can have negative consequences. Dopamine can also contribute to the potential destruction of the human race through nuclear war, environmental damage, the rise of artificial intelligence, and an obsession with constant consumption. The writers discuss the global issue of declining fertility rates and the potential role that virtual reality, VR, could play in further accelerating the decline of the human race. It highlights how many developed and developing countries are experiencing below-replacement fertility rates, leading governments to implement various strategies to encourage people to have more children. Additionally, the writer explains how VR technology is advancing to stimulate all the senses, including touch, which could make virtual experiences, such as pornography, more addictive and appealing than real-life interactions. They emphasize the importance of achieving a balance between our dopamine-driven desire for more and appreciating the richness and complexity of reality. Mastery of skills and focusing on the present moment are suggested as ways to find this balance and create a sense of contentment. Lieberman and Long discuss the importance of sensory experiences and paying attention to the present moment. Being in a new and stimulating environment, such as when traveling, can enhance our sensory inputs and make us feel more alive. They also highlights the cognitive benefits of exposure to nature, even if it's just for a short period of time. A study shows students who looked at pictures of nature performed better on a concentration task compared to those who looked at urban scenes. The author then emphasizes the negative effects of multitasking and how it compromises our attention and efficiency. Even brief interruptions can double the number of errors made on a task. The book further explores the relationship between a wandering mind and happiness, indicating that people are generally happier when they pay attention to what they are doing. Constantly living in the abstract world of future possibilities can have a negative impact on happiness. Lieberman and Long suggest that the combination of dopamine stimulation and sensory experiences is essential in achieving happiness and fulfillment. They highlight the importance of engaging in creative activities like painting, woodworking, and cooking, as they provide a balance between dopamine and sensory inputs. Lieberman and Long mentions that construction workers were found to be the happiest in a survey due to the combination of fulfilling work, camaraderie, and rising salaries. Finding harmony between dopamine and sensory reality is crucial for unlocking the brain's full potential and leading a more balanced human existence. Thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'll see you in the next video.